communication with supporters has been excellent. I think he's been on the front foot. Listen, maybe the American influence there. I mean, that's the way they operate out there. He's been very transparent. I mean, they made mistakes early on, quite a few whoppers, but they quickly addressed them and fixed them. They've been aggressive in their strategy in terms of buying players, spending money, throwing money into it. But the communication for me is the main thing. I mean, listen, they put prices of the season tickets up this week as well, which is not always a popular thing to do, particularly when this title race is not done yet and they don't know where it's going to be. But it has been transparent. He's been open and honest. The fact they're going to put more money in. And this is the time of year usually you hear about Rangers saying, "Oh, the board or our guys are going to put in X amount of millions," but usually it's because the phrase "to keep the lights on," because they're running such losses. Listen, they had pretty hefty losses last season, but that was before a few players departed, and I think obviously they spent again. So listen, they have to. I did get the feeling reading between the lines that they're going to be a bit more kind of. They're not going to be quite as splatter cash as they have been. They're going to be a bit more kind of prudent in terms of where the money's spent. But the fact that they're putting money in, they're very aggressive. I mean, January, I think Rangers got a sniff. I think if you said to Rangers fans back in October about the title race, they put the white flag up and said, "Right, we'll start again next year." Mm-hmm. Whereas I think they had a sniff in January. Cavenagh and their backers have thought, right, we've got a chance here. They've went and spent money again. I think that the recruitment in January was pretty decent. I think Romans looks a cracker, and he's changed the way that they play. I think that he could be the sign of the season. Nadiri, I think, is still raw. He's added a bit of dimension, but if he adds a few goals, he might come good. He's a young kind of striker. Chakwani, I think, has had a bit of beef in the middle of the park, which is needed. I think Scott Olsen hasn't quite caught fire. We're talking about the Ox, but he's got quality and he might produce in the next coming weeks. So he's been aggressive. They've been ambitious. They clearly have got long-term and medium and short-term goals, which they're determined to meet. They can sense that perhaps the tide in Scottish football is changing. Celtic, having looked like they had a monopoly and looked like a movable object, now are completely vulnerable. They're facing a major rebuild in the summer. It could take them a year or two to get back to where they were, if they ever get back to where they were. But in fact, I don't think they'll ever get back to the kind of dominance that they've had, because I think there's a new Rangers show in town, and they're going to be there year in, year out now. Whereas up until 18 months ago, they would have a go now and again, and the money would run out, and there was cutbacks. I mean, Philip Clement was getting his budget slashed. Even I think Van Bronckhorst, after getting to the European final, had to make some savings. I mean, Gerrard was moaning about not kicking on after winning the league. Whereas now I think there's a kind of aggressive strategy. I think, listen, they can't keep making losses, and these are investors. They're not benevolent benefactors. They're not just chucking money in this. They want him to return on investment. So at some point, Rangers are going to need to get the player recruitment model up and running, and getting the kind of break-even model and functioning eventually. But in the short term, they've been aggressive, they're expanding, and they want to get control and dominance. And if they get a chance to foothold in the Champions League, the money starts coming in as well. So yeah, if you're a Rangers fan, you're thinking there's a bit of a structure, there's the cohesion, there's a strategy, there's adults in the room, there's no more silliness off the field, which they've had for years. And yeah, so listen, I don't think they're going to be throwing money around daft, but it looks like there's a plan in place and a long-term strategy. So yeah, I think you can fault them.
In the comments, very quickly, Alan Black says it's 2032. Oxlade-Chamberlain's finally played a full 90 minutes. Celtic are losing 3-0 to Livingston. James Forrest, now 124, scores 4 goals to deliver another title. Elsewhere, Ibrox62 says maybe Celtic should take a page from Cavanagh's book, start by having their CEO sit amongst the supporters. I'm sure that would do really well. Graham Brown says £60 million share issue, Champions League cash, plus the money we'll get for Manny Fernandez, looking good for the future. As Rebel says, Champions League cash might be a bit premature, but as some of the comments say, Fraser, at least there's communication from the Rangers side of Glasgow. At least fans can hear the plan, can hear Cavanagh talk. He gives the odd interview. I mean, it's just complete silence from Celtic.
Aye, it's been a breath of fresh air on that front. The American, absolutely brilliant. The lines of communication, a number of times he's seen at Ibrox. You know, he is properly invested in this project, and the fans will love that. I just think sometimes we get a wee bit carried away with money injections. Rangers spent £40 million on players this season. 40 million. They've got less points than they had at this stage last season. They've not reached any cup finals. And in Europe, they were absolutely woeful. So they're not as good as they were last season. I think that's... However, they could still walk away with a title. And I think that is a barometer at which we'll gauge most of these signings. So many of them, the kind of jury's still out for me. You know, obviously, the big money, Yusuf Chermiti. If he's to score another couple of massive goals after the split, say against Hearts and Celtic, they'll be calling for a statue for the guy. If he doesn't, and Rangers don't win the league, that price tag's just going to continue to weigh heavy around his neck, and he'll go down as a flop, perhaps. I'm not sure about Nadiri. Works hard. Gassama started like a steam train and has gone right off the rails. Telo Asgard, not sure, although he seems to be brilliant for his country. Oliver Antman, big money, but no return. Bojan Miovski, I thought would be brilliant. Again, just doesn't seem to have done it, despite hitting 10 goals. I think past marks go to big Manny Fernandes, to Romans, who's been a brilliant signing, as Mick said, at left back. And I do like the look of Tochi Chukwueze, and a couple of the loan guys, particularly Mikey Moore, have brought value. But I just think for £40 million Rangers are spent this season. And it's all coming down to crunch now, the next 7 games, whether that has been good money. Because to get back to your point, £16 million invested to go into transfer kitty, that's all great news, but it can very easily be frittered away on average players. So I think they need to improve their recruitment for that to be a positive. But just in terms of the whole Andrew Cavenagh reign, it's been a breath of fresh air.